Good evening. This is All India Radio, Kohima. I'm Jonas Yantan with Evening News. The headlines. President Droupadi Murmu says water crisis is multi-dimensional and complex issue that needs to be dealt through collective global efforts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says history, present and future of India remain incomplete without tribal society. Certification program for returning officers and assistant returning officers begins in Kohima. And Commissioner of Police issues restrictions in view of President Droupadi Murmu's visit to Nagaland. Now the news in detail. President Droupadi Murmu has said that the water crisis is a multi-dimensional and complex issue that needs to be dealt with through collective global efforts. She said adverse impact of climate change has posed a serious challenge to water conservation. She was addressing the inaugural session of the 7th edition of India Water Week being organized by Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation at Greater Noida in Uttar Pradesh today. Murmu said earlier India was facing a water crisis, but in the last few years, various schemes and plans were introduced by the central government to manage the water scarcity in the country. In his address, Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat called for a holistic approach to deal with the water crisis as the world is facing various challenges due to climate change. He said India is at the forefront in the fight for water crisis, and under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the government has allocated a significant monetary fund in the field of water conservation in the country. Shekhawat said India is taking initiatives to bring all stakeholders to a single platform to deliberate upon the issues of water crisis and find solutions to the problem. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that history, present and future of India remain incomplete without tribal society. It is time for the country to thank the tribal society for their debt and sacrifice by serving them. Prime Minister was addressing the Mankar Tham Ki Gaurav Gatha program at Mankar Tham in Banswara district of Rajasthan today. The Prime Minister said that the struggle and sacrifice of tribal society in the freedom struggle did not get the place that should have been given in the history written after independence. The country is filling that gap in the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. He said that all pages of the freedom struggle are filled with the bravery of the tribal society. The Prime Minister said that from the beginning of slavery to the 20th century, there was no period when the tribal society did not hold the baton of freedom struggle. He said that the expansion and role of tribal society in the country is so big that there is a need to work for it with a dedicated spirit. Modi said that the country is working with a clear policy for the diverse tribal community. The Prime Minister said that Mankar Tham is a symbol of sacrifice, austerity and patriotism of tribal heroes. In view of the forthcoming general election to Nagaland Legislative Assembly, a 4-day certification program for returning officers and assistant returning officers began in Kohima today. Addressing the inaugural session, Chief Electoral Officer Nagaland V. Shashank Shekhar called on the officers to focus on their mandated role with utmost dedication and deliver service to the people with efficiency. The 4-day training program is being conducted by national-level master trainers deputed by the Election Commission of India. The various sessions will include electoral roll, qualification and disqualifications, nomination, scrutiny of nominations, withdrawal of candidature, and allotment of simple district election management plan, including COVID guidelines, vulnerability mapping, systematic voter education and electoral participation, model code of conduct, IT applications, postal ballot, media certification and monitoring committee, paid news, expenditure monitoring and accounts on election expenditure, polling party and poll day management. In view of the President Droupadi Murmu's visit to Nagaland from tomorrow, the Commissioner of Police Dimapur has issued some restrictions to be followed. An order from the Commissioner of Police stated that use of any kind of remotely piloted aircraft like drones will be banned. Any firing practices by security forces, civil and central police, private firing ranges, or any civilian holder of licensed firearms is prohibited. Bursting of firecrackers will also be strictly prohibited. The restrictions will be imposed within Dimapur, Kohima and Newland districts with effect from 6 a.m. tomorrow till 6 p.m. of 3rd November. This news comes to you from All India Radio, Kohima. You can also listen to this news bulletin on News on Air app and YouTube channel AIR News Kohima. The civic reception program of the President Droupadi Murmu, which is scheduled to be held at the Capital Cultural Hall in Kohima tomorrow at 3 p.m., will be live streamed on YouTube. The program will be available at the TIPR Nagaland YouTube channel or through the link YouTube/TTYJ3BIZ7EA. Directorate of Economics and Statistics Nagaland has expressed concern that births and deaths certificates for delayed registration are being issued by registrars without following procedure under the Registration of Births and Deaths Act 1969 and Nagaland Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Rules 1999. The Directorate stated that as per the Registration of Births and Deaths Act 1969, the registration of births and deaths is provided free of cost if registered within 21 days. Any birth or death of which information is given to the registrar after the expiry of the period specified, but within 30 days, can be registered on payment of late fee as may be prescribed. Any birth or death of which delayed information is given to the registrar after 30 days but within 1 year can be registered only with a written permission of the prescribed authority and on payment of the prescribed fee and the production of the affidavit made before a notary public or any other office authorized by the state government. Any birth or death which has not been registered within 1 year can be registered only on an order made by a magistrate of first class or a presidency magistrate after verifying the correctness of birth and death and on payment of the prescribed fee. The Directorate has informed that any registrar registering and issuing birth and death certificates without these clauses is punishable as per the Act. Advisor for Information and Public Relations Village Guards S. Kyoshu Yimkyong said that Village Guard personnel had rendered invaluable service in protecting and maintaining law and order in their areas. Addressing the Golden Jubilee celebration of the Toksur Village Guard at Toksur Village yesterday as special guest, he said their valuable services and sacrifices had been nationally recognized by conferring many awards in recognition of their meritorious service and sacrifices over the years. SP Nagaland District Dr. Britpal Gaur Batra said that village guards are the one who guards places where the police personnel cannot reach. She said beginning in 1957 and even during Merabani War, VGs have rendered valuable services and supreme sacrifices. The SP also said that people must salute them for their acts of bravery and heroism and urged them to continue living their good names as the finest VGs volunteer. Advisor for Water Resources Namreen Chang has stressed on the importance of preservation of one's unique identity and rich cultural heritage. He expressed dismay that many young people have left behind the good traditional and cultural practices of their forefathers, which he said can disturb the fabric of the community. The advisor was speaking at the Chaka Kati and Lamsingni Kam Mini Hornbill Festival at Denning Town in Beren District yesterday. Namri emphasized that people should start reorienting their lost practices and unity through the different tribal festivals. And now to end the news, here are the main points again. President Droupadi Murmu says water crisis is multi-dimensional and complex issue that needs to be dealt through collective global efforts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says history, present and future of India remain incomplete without tribal society. Certification program for returning officers and assistant returning officers begins in Kohima. and Commissioner of Police issues restrictions in view of President Droupadi Murmu's visit to Nagaland. That is all we have in this evening news bulletin. Good night.